Gatorade Thirst Quencher, the hydration tested in the lab and used by the pros. Now through November 2nd, any purchase of Gatorade through 7-Eleven or 7NOW Deliver app will start a point streak. The more bottles you purchase, the more points you earn. Head to your nearest 7-Eleven to start a Gatorade point streak today.
Today tastes like game day at home. Like assigned couch seating. Like coffee table dining. And an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to. And it never tasted this good. CocaCola. Together tastes better.
Football season is here. That means it's time to load up on some delicious ice-cold Coke. Pick up Coca-Cola today.
Welcome back here to 95.7 The Game, our weekly conversation with the one and only Peter King, and it's great to have him stop on by once again here on Damon and Ratto. Peter, another week goes by. How are you, man?
Everything is going great. Yourself?
We're good, but I'll tell you, 49ers anxiety running a little hot out here, certainly earlier than anyone thought it might. Trey Lance has been hurt. Jimmy is running back with the ones in practice, and no one out here is really sure that that is a solution to what is ailing the 49ers. They're coming off a bye week. They got the Colts coming up on Sunday Night Football. Do you think that a team that's struggling with a little bit of an identity crisis can find one during a bye week?
Yeah, I think what usually happens in a bye is it's invariably great for a team. Just because if you think about it, players, no matter what you think, the players, the first thing they do when they get their schedule, now they get it in May, the first thing they do is they say, okay, when is our bye? How many days off are we going to get? What can I do to recharge the batteries? Where am I going to go? And so I think the bye, players always come back refreshed, in great shape, and really kind of looking forward to what lies ahead. Now, what is interesting in this particular case of the bye week, okay, if you look at the team that they're going to be playing, you look at a team that in Indianapolis that played a Monday night game in Baltimore, a tremendously physical and emotional loss on Monday night in Baltimore. Then they come back on a short week. They play Houston, and the Texans are an expansion team. They play Houston, and then, they go and they travel 2,100 miles, and they go and they, fly from Indianapolis to San Jose, and then they play the 49ers. So, in essence, since the 49ers last played a football game, the Colts will have played twice. So, theoretically, the 49ers should be, even though they've got the Lance injury to worry about, the 49ers should be in significantly better physical shape with their 53 men than are the Colts. So that's one thing to look at the bright side of. But look, we've talked about this all year. They've got to get better play out of their quarterback. They know that they have to get better play out of their quarterback. And I think if Jimmy Garoppolo was healthy enough, and most likely he will be if he's healthy enough, it's almost like, in many ways, and I don't think they're going to trade him almost no matter what, but it's almost like, Jimmy's last stand in a lot of ways. This is his last shot to basically say, this is my job and I'm keeping it until, at the very least, until the end of the year. So this is his shot to do that, and we'll see if he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's a big one against the Colts. And Wentz has been playing well. Like you said, they just use the functioning bye week that is the Houston Texans to kind of come together and really find some things. What chances are you giving the Colts on Sunday night? Because I certainly like them a lot more than I did when the schedule came out and we started seeing what these teams looked like.
Well, I think the Colts are an unpredictable team. They've lost a really good wide receiver, Pittman, who Wentz had really grown to like. He's got a foot injury. He's likely out for the year. That, I can tell you this, from knowing their team, that's a huge loss for that team. And so, look, I think that I think it's probably a good week to be playing the Colts if you're going to play them this year, because you're going to be fresh. They're not going to be. And look, you got to account for a couple of guys on their defense on every play, particularly Darius Leonard. But the way I kind of look at this is the kind of game San Francisco's got to win this game. And look, a must-win is a weird thing to say at this time of year, but the 49ers really need to win this game for a very simple reason. You can't fall behind the two very good teams in this division very much anyway. And this is a game against a team that you should have a lot of advantages in, both being fresh and, in my opinion, being better than.
As you look at the 49ers in terms of, what is their identity seems to be a lot closer to being a good defensive team than it is a good offensive team. Is this the kind of game where they can not only establish that, but sort of reaffirm it?
It should be, certainly, because, the Colts are also beat up on the offensive front. And look, I think one of the things that you have to count on if you're the 49ers, you have to count on seasoned, good, strong players and physical players on that defensive front being able to get in Carson Wentz's face and being able to win at the offensive point of attack. That is essential in this game. There are some teams right now in the NFL, the Cowboys, for instance, that you pretty much know every week, unless you have an absolutely great defensive game plan against them and execute it extremely well, they're scoring in the 30s every week. Can't say that about the Niners. So that's why you need this. That's why you need just a really, really strong defensive game almost every week now, because you have no idea if Jimmy Garoppolo is putting up 17 or 31. I think that is one part of it. I think the other part of it is there's a lot of guys on this defense with a lot to prove. And look, we'll start with you can start with a lot of different guys on this team, but I do think that it feels like with Robert Saleh gone, okay, they're all still trying to prove themselves. And so it hasn't been nearly as good a defense as it was in 2019 when they were relatively healthy. There's a lot of reasons for that, but this is the kind of week where you say you really got to start to get well on defense, because the defense, as much as any team in this division, the defense is going to have to play well for you to win.
It feels a little bit like, Peter, Kyle Shanahan is caught in between turning the page to the next version of the Niners and trying to run back 2019. And he's in that gray area. The Niners feel like they're a little bit in purgatory.
But I think what he's counting on, and we'll find out, we'll know 5 years from now with a sense of history. We'll know whether they made the right decisions or not. But look, the 49ers paid Jimmy Garoppolo a huge amount of money, and they spent a lot of draft capital to draft Trey Lance. If you exit this season not having a great feel about who is your quarterback of the future and the fact that he better be a top 10 to 12 quarterback in this league for a while, then it's trouble for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I can't think of many more teams. I mean, I have not done this exercise, but what other teams have devoted more draft and salary capital over the last 3 or 4 years at the quarterback position than the 49ers? I'm not sure there is one. And so it's important that they exit this year knowing that one of these guys is going to be the guy entering next year, and you don't have to have this faux competition that you just had. So, I mean, and that's why, in my opinion, and again, it doesn't help to tell a guy that your career is on the line, but in many ways, Jimmy Garoppolo, this game, when I look at the NFL right now, this game right here, right now, is as important for any quarterback in the NFL this year. As this game for Jimmy Garoppolo is as important for any quarterback in the league this year. So he has got to play well this week.
Toward that end, after 6 weeks, you've got a pretty good sense of who the playoff teams are in each conference, I think, or at least the ones who are going to be in the argument.
You got a pretty good sense of the teams at the top, but I don't know that you've got a great sense of 5, 6, and 7. But go ahead. I get your point.
Yeah, I mean, the openings for the 49ers are narrowing. Based on that, has Garoppolo shown enough this year to be valuable trade bait, or is he the kind of quarterback where, let's say hypothetically, where Cleveland's got Baker Mayfield injured, is Garoppolo a guy that teams would avoid just because they're not sure what he is anymore?
Ray, teams are going to avoid Jimmy Garoppolo for a very simple reason. He makes a crap load of money, and the salary cap is in purgatory right now. The salary cap is trouble for everybody. You saw what happened when Stephon Gilmore went from New England to Carolina, and New England only got a 2023 sixth-round pick in return. You know what that was? It was a salary dump because the Carolina Panthers had the money to cover it. There are not many teams in the NFL that can cover a salary cap dump like that right now. So, first of all, I don't think the Niners are going to trade him right now because this is an important year for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. This is, you've got to, in my opinion, the way I sort of look at this season for them is they got to do the right thing at the quarterback position, and they got to make sure that they're ready, to know who their quarterback is. But what has gotten them in trouble, the 2 of the last 3 years when they have gotten in trouble late in the year, and that is Jimmy Garoppolo has gotten hurt, and they have not had the kind of quarterback depth that they can go and win big games with late in the year. And that's why I think they didn't trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, it would have been one thing if they got an offer of a 1. If New England didn't take Mac Jones, was looking for a quarterback in May and said, we'll give you a 1 for Garoppolo, that would be one thing. But the fact is they haven't gotten that offer, nor do I think in the absence of getting an offer of a 1, I don't think they should trade Garoppolo. He is the kind of insurance that they need to try to make sure that they get in the playoff tournament in January.
Good to be the king. Peter King here on 95.7 The Game. So there really can't be much more said about the results of a bye week. So looking back at everything else that happened this past weekend in football, I want to start with Derek Carr because I think he needs to get a little, and it's so early for MVP lists to come out, and we got so much season in front of us. But I think MVP consideration, if we were to give it out right now, he would need a lot of it because he's been fantastic, and he just picked up the Raiders in a week where they needed desperate picking up in some leadership. And I think that's their most impressive win in a long time. With all due respect to the Broncos and what they aren't, the Raiders had every reason to come into that game on unsteady ground, and they played well.
Yeah, I think look, I don't know Rich Bisaccia, and so there's a lot to be said about this game. But one of the things to be said about this game, and I agree that they almost played this game as I was watching it, almost like they were on autopilot. And Derek Carr was their sort of computer guy, and I really, really liked what I saw of him commanding this team. And you're right, there are a lot of guys right now. I mean, Kyler Murray just went to Cleveland, a tough place to play, even though the Browns are beat up. He just went to Cleveland without his coach and without his quarterback coach and without his Pro Bowl center. And he won by 23 points. So there's a lot of people who, when you get in the MVP discussion, they belong in it. But I totally agree. Hats off to Derek Carr for a great job on Sunday. And, you know, the thing I say about Derek Carr, he is just a mature dude. And he understands. He doesn't get all fired up. He doesn't waste his time on junk. And I like Derek Carr, and he deserves to be applauded after what happened on Sunday.
Speaking of that, but not necessarily about Carr, has it been your experience when something, for lack of a better word, catastrophic happens to a team, does the real blow land later, or would you see immediately if a team is able to figure out, you know, how to get around a problem like that? When you look at the Raiders, do you see a team for which there's going to be problems later?
Could be, but look, in my opinion, the Raiders were fortunate the way the schedule fell. The Broncos were fool's gold in the first 3 weeks. And, you know, they have an okay defense with a secondary that we all thought was going to be better than it actually has performed. And their offense is just so suspect. That's all. But Ray, I think right now when I look at this team, the one thing that you just can't tell right now is that, you know, how much were Derek Carr and John Gruden tied at the hip. I made this point in my column this week that, look, John Gruden has been a good coach in the NFL. He's not been a superior coach. He was 3 games over 500 in Tampa overall. He was 3 games over 500 as the coach of the Raiders overall. He has not won a playoff game in 17 years. So I really hesitate to say that, you know, this is the disaster of all disasters for a team. It's like what Max Crosby said after the game, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, look, there's always some crap going on with the Raiders. Always has been, always will be. So, you know, we're just players. And I think a lot of times we in the outside world say, oh, my God, there's a hurricane going on inside of the team. There's no way they can win. And I think a lot of players, I forget who did their game this week, the color guy, but he was talking about one of the players on the Raiders who, when they had their production meeting on Saturday at the hotel in Denver, he said, you know, I didn't even hear that Gruden was gone until I got in on Tuesday because I don't watch sports on TV. I just watch Netflix. And so it hasn't been that big a deal to me. And so I think sometimes we think that what we see as big crises honestly is not as big a crisis perhaps on the inside of a team. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying that I think maybe sometimes we overrate it.
Peter, always good to talk to you. Good luck to your Red Sox tonight. You got to be happy the Yankees are bringing Aaron Boone back.
No, I like Aaron Boone. He's a good guy. But, so anyway, it'll be fun.
Thanks so much, Peter. Always a pleasure.
Guys.
Today tastes like game day at home, like assigned couch seating, like coffee table dining, and an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to, and it never tasted this good. CocaCola, together tastes better.
Football season is here. That means it's time to load up on some delicious ice-cold Coke. Pick up Coca-Cola today.
You love Zoom for video meetings? Now, choose Zoom to power your phone communications too. Zoom Phone works seamlessly within the Zoom app as your business phone system. Zoom Phone's secure HD audio and enterprise-grade reliability keep you connected to your teams and your customers. And it's easy to use on mobile, desktop, or desk phone. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Zoom, how the world connects.